गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शूल प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिलक्ष्य स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद संग से भक्त वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय इस्कॉन संस्थापक श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिलक्ष्य स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद श्री गौर किशोरदास पाद महाराज की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति ठाकुरा की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सर्पम श्री जगन्नाथ दास पाद महाराज की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास षट गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय नवाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिन श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री मायापुर धाम की जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय भक्त देवी की जय तुलसी देवी की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, इस्कॉन पद्मा गुरुवंत की जय, समावेद भक्त की जय, गौरव प्रेमानंदे। Hare Hare Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri and Shri and all glories to Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अपत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिः. Hare Krishna, welcome you all to Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 15, Text 17 to Text 22. Because many of them don't have purport, many of them have small purport. Hare Krishna. Text 17. Dashachandram asimrudraha Shatachandram tatambika Somo Pratamayan Ashvams Pashtarupashrayam Ratham. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shiva presented him with a sword within a sheath marked with 10 moons, and his wife, the goddess Durga, presented him with a shield marked with 100 moons. The moon demigod presented him with horses made of nectar, and the demigod Vishwakarma presented him with a very beautiful chariot. Text number 18. Agnir ajagavam chapam suryoras vimayan ishon bhu paduke yogamayau dyau pushpavalim vaham. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The demigod of fire, Agni, presented him with a bow made of the horns of goats and cows. The sun god presented him with arrows as brilliant as sunshine. The predominating deity of Burloka presented him with slippers full of mystic power. The demigods from outer space brought him presentation of flowers again and again. This verse describes that the king's slippers were invested with mystic powers. Paduke Yogamayau. Thus, as soon as the king placed his feet in the slippers, they would immediately carry him wherever he desired. Mystic yogis can transfer themselves from one place to another whenever they desire. A similar power was invested in the slippers of King Prithu. Text 19. Natyam Sugitam Vaditram Antardanam Chikle Charaha Rishayascha Satyaha Samudraha Shankam Atmajam. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The demigods who always travel in outer space gave King Prithu the arts to perform dramas, sing songs, play musical instruments, and disappear at his will. The great sages also offered him infallible blessings. The ocean offered him a conch shell produced from the ocean. Text 20. Sindavaha parvatat natyo ratabvitir mahatmanaha suto iha maha magado vandi tam stotum upatastire. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The seas, mountains, and the rivers gave him room to drive his chariot without impediments, and a Suta, a Magadha, and a Bandi offered prayers and praises. They all presented themselves before him to perform their respective duties. Text number 21. Stavakam stan abhipretya riturbanyah patapavan meghadikrataya vacha prahassan idam apravit. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, when the greatly powerful King Prithu, the son of Vena, saw the professionals before him to congratulate them, he smiled, and with gravity of the vibrating sounds of clouds, he spoke as follows. Text 22. Prithuruvacha Bho Suta He Magada Saumyavandhil Loke Tunapashta Gunasya me syat kim ashrayo me stava esha yochitam mamai abhuvan vitatha hirovaha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Prithu said, O gentle Sutta, Bhagada and other devotee offering prayers, the qualities of which you have spoken are not distinct in me. Why then should you praise me for all these qualities when I do not shelter these features? I do not wish for these words meant for me to go in vain, but it is better that they be offered to someone else. The prayers and praises by the Sutta, Magadha, and Vandi all explain the godly qualities of Maharaja Prithu, for he was a Shakti Avesha incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the qualities were not yet manifest, however, King Prithu very humbly asked why the devotee should praise him with such exalted words. He did not want anyone to offer him prayers or glorify him unless he possessed the real qualities of which they spoke. The offering of prayers was certainly appropriate, for he was an incarnation of Godhead, but he warned that one should not be accepted as an incarnation of the personality of Godhead without having the godly qualities. At the present moment, there are many so-called incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but these are merely fools and rascals whom people accept as incarnations of God, although they have no godly qualities. King Prithu desired that his real characteristics in the future might express such words of praise, although there was no fault in the prayers offered. To Maharaj indicated that such prayers should not be offered to an unfit person who pretends to be an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vidapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tamsajeevam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabanto Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shivanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kapasnudhya Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Moham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Shri Viramyatkapatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatharanam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Krishna Prasad. Hare Krishna. So welcome to this Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So as we see here, connected to the last classes, Prithu Maharaj was coronated as king, and when he was coronated, as is a normal practice, various demigods came to him with a lot of gifts and presents, that culture is being continued even today. And whenever a ruler, whether it's a president or a prime minister, is coronated as president or prime minister, there others, ministers, the many senior personalities will come and giving some gifts, and they may offer some prayers and so forth. So in text 70, we find that Lord Shiva, Goddess Durga, they all presented him with gifts, and similarly Vishwakarma presented him with a very nice chariot. In text number 18, there is a important point that is mentioned here about the predominating deity of Purloka presented him with slippers full of mystic power. The demigods from outer space brought him presentations of flowers again and again. So this mystic power is one important point here. The point is that as soon as the king placed his feet on the slippers, they would immediately carry him wherever he wanted to go. So these are some sort of mystic powers which were existing in those days. Of course, not much can be seen these days, but mystic powers were true, and many yogis used to transfer themselves from one place to another whenever they decide. But this practice, the yogis could attain this mystic power by practice of Ashtanga Yoga. But the purpose of the Ashtanga Yoga was ultimately to realize the presence of Paramatma, feature of the Lord in the heart. But generally what used to happen was the yogis used to get themselves attached to these mystic powers, and thus they were also bound in the material world with cycle of birth and death. And similar power was invested in the slippers of Raja Prithu. So uh, generally the kings who were ruling the kingdom the yesteryears, they were empowered because they were empowered by the Supreme Lord, because they were all ruling as the representatives of the Lord. So they were called Raja Rishis. Raja Rishis means saintly kings. That means they were kings also, and they were devotees of the Lord also. So they were empowered by the Lord, and they used these mystic powers for a particular purpose in the service of the Lord. They never used these for their personal sense gratification. So they were able to utilize them, and there was perfection in the perfect order. But as age started deteriorating, the kings were elected democratically or selected, whatever they may be, but they were not representatives of the Lord. So they lost their mystic powers also. So mystic powers were given by the Lord for the use in the service of the Lord. So Prithu Maharaj was given the sandals, by which the moment he puts on the sandals, he can um, go to whichever place he desires. So mystic yogis are also there. There are also higher planets in our planetary system itself, where there are demigods staying, and living entities of a higher grades. For example, in Gandharva Loka, it is said that they can travel from uh, the one planet to the other without any aircraft. Similarly, people from Siddhaloka can travel from one planet to the other. Just they have their own airplane, not like us, but they have their own types of airplanes, which also are a mode of transport for them. That means whatever we see here, they are existing in the higher planetary systems also. Some planets, even Vaikuntha planets, there are airplanes. Possibly what we see here may be a replica of what might be there, or the reflection of what might be there in the spiritual world. So, if we see, uh, even in current date, there are many magicians who perform some magical tricks. That is also a part of mystic power. And these tricks they do, by which they can appear whenever they want, wherever, and they can disappear when they want. So these are all some finer arts which are not practically applicable these days. Very few people who may be there, who may be practicing, but in Kali Yuga it is very, very difficult. And if we see even some 20 years or 30 years before, many of you might have gone to circus. And in the circus, you may see some buffoons or jokers who display some tricks. So they're all some sort of other of mystic powers of different grades. And of course, now it is not possible. Even the circus has gone ever since the cinemas came, and then later on the mobiles came. All these have gradually declined. But to go slightly deeper, if you have a deeper understanding of the subjects, demigods also have mystic powers. The Brahma, the creator of this material world, it is said that he requires mystic powers to create progeny. He can't do anything on his own. So he depends on the Supreme Lord. And he's empowered to create. Creation is not a very easy task. It's very, very complex. So many planets in the universe, so many living entities in each of the universe, so many different types of living entities. So it's a very, very complex process for which Brahma is empowered to. So that is why he also has this mystic power. Many times we see the demons also performing some magic tricks, like Ravana used to perform, and they all attain these by performing some yoga practice and so forth. But the demons use these mystic powers. Uh, they don't use but they misuse this, and so none of the powers lasted with them for a very long time, and that's how they all got killed. What is more important to understand from this purport is that mystic power is not very important for us to sustain our living. The most important part is that how to get out of this material world, from the cycle of birth and death, and mystic power cannot help us anymore. Rather, attachment to such types of powers can keep us bound in this material world. And in the age of Kali, even we see that deity worship standards are falling off. So we must stick to the process of deliverance which is given, that is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Then in text 21, there's a mention of how when King Prithu Maharaj was glorified by many, he uh, congratulated them and he smiled at them also, and he spoke the following words. So the rulers were all, in the Esther years, the citizens as well as the others were used to, had an opportunity to meet the ruler or the king or whoever it is. But nowadays we see that whether it's a president or a prime minister, it's not very easy to meet. But it was not so difficult on those days. In those days, these days there is more of a security cordon, which is made things much more difficult in Kali Yuga. When we go to text 22, which is the important part of the sloka today. So in the 22, it is said that King Prithu Maharaj said, "O gentle Suta, Magadha, and other devotee offering prayer, the qualities of which you have spoken are not distinct in me." So Prithu Maharaj was glorified by many of the demigods and higher citizens of the higher planets. And here he mentioned that whatever prayers you are offered to me, I'm not suitable for that because I don't have those qualities. And then he says, why should you praise me for these qualities which I don't have in me? And I do not, then he says that I don't want to these prayers to go in vain, but instead offer it to someone else. So these are the 3-4 important points we'll try to understand. Now, Prithu Maharaj was an Shakti Avesha Avatara. Shakti Avesha Avatara means the Lord has many types of incarnations. And one such type is called a Shakti Avesha Avatara. That is when there is a Jiva who is qualified enough to undertake a specific mission required by the Lord empowers such a qualified living entity with qualities that are required for the purpose of the mission. And after the mission is over, uh, uh, that incarnate of the Lord winds up the pastimes and goes back to Godhead. So some examples, the Srimad Bhagavatam are Parasuram, who appeared to incarnate to kill the Kshatriya kings who were not obeying the order of the Brahmanas. So he killed 21 generations of Kshatriyas. That was his purpose. Vyasadeva appeared to compile Srimad Bhagavatam and their Puranas and so forth. So they are all empowered incarnation. They are all jivas who are given some empowerment to do a particular task. Srila Prabhupada was empowered to preach Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So these are all empowered jivas who come with a specific purpose. And then there's a mention here as to how Prithu Maharaj says that he does not have the qualities. Now, when an exalted personality like Prithu Maharaj is glorified, he does not accept this because he clearly says that I don't have these qualities by which you are for which you are glorifying me. So this is the exalted position of a king like Prithu Maharaj, which you may not find in the current days because the quality of the kings are not anywhere compared to what those were in the Esther years. So Prithu Maharaj was a very highly qualified personality. And one important point that is mentioned is that every day we find so many incarnations coming up in some other name, like Kalki incarnation came some time back. Somebody called herself as Amma. So these are all different types of personalities who claims to be God. Some claim to be a representative of God, even though they are not. And we see that they are not known anymore. So every day some new personality comes and they go away. So Shastras mention that if anybody claims to be an incarnation of God, we should always ask him to show the universal form, which only an incarnation of God can display. And if a person is not able to display the universal form or the Lord or the Virat Rupa, he's a false incarnation and he's a cheater. Now, what happens to such cheaters? We will discuss that today. So every incarnation of the Lord comes with specific qualities. And these so-called pseudo-incarnations don't have such qualities. Now, Prithu Maharaj, though he had these qualities, he thought that maybe he might develop these qualities in future. But at the moment, he says that he is not worthy of the words of praise which all the demigods were offering. So, Srila Prabhupada mentioned this is a question, the ideal king, even though an exalted personality like him, who is an empowered incarnation of the Lord himself, he was so humble to express himself in such a way that he thought that he was not qualified to receive that. That is the humility of Prithu Maharaj. Now, humility is a very vital aspect in devotional service, or as a matter of fact, even in any practice. Without humility, it is very difficult for one to succeed. Now, another example is given in Srimad Bhagavatam is Sukadeva Goswami. He showed how one should approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sukadeva Goswami, before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, is asking for empowerment so that he can speak Srimad Bhagavatam as he should be speaking. That means, though Sukadeva Goswami was a highly great personality to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, he was qualified enough. But before he starts itself, he starts asking for empowerment so that he can speak the way he should be speaking. So asking for empowerment means presenting oneself in a very humble manner. That is how one should present himself even when he sits in the Vyasasana. Otherwise, if one sits as a very great scholar in the Vyasasana, there will be a day when he will be brought down by the audience who is hearing. So similarly, it is said that it is the duty of each and everyone to seek the blessings of the Lord in every aspect of one's service, whether one is sitting in the Vyasasana and preaching or doing any service to the Lord. One has to get the blessings, one has to seek the blessings of the parampara. And if you see this, even on material aspects, it's applicable on a day-to-day basis. So devotees engage in many services, and the real perfection is to approach the parampara with a humble mood, not with arrogance, not with scholarly attitude. So approaching the deities or the Vaishnavas, or speaking on the scriptures, cooking, book distribution, all of these are different services in our spiritual life. And we need the blessings of the parampara and the Lord, also senior personalities, for us to succeed. So that is why even before we begin a class, we normally offer prayers to the parampara, seeking their blessings. Because as conditioned souls, we don't have a capacity to preach, sit in the Vyasasana and speak the glories or preach. But with some empowerment by the parampara, we can speak a few words. That's why we also say, Moham karoti vachalam pankam lange degram. Without the mercy of the parampara or the great acharyas, we are just fools. So prayer also, sign of humility, means detachment. If one does not develop humility, then one becomes attached to it. Many times we see that when somebody comes and offers some glorification to us, we become attached to it. Not only that we become attached to it, we have an expectation. Yes, when I see that other person will come and see me, he'll definitely glorify me. And if that doesn't happen, then we become disappointed. That is why he said that humility means detachment. And the absence of humility is what is called attachment. That means if we are attached to that glorification, uh, we become attached to it, and we will not be able to humble ourselves. But a real sign of humility is detachment. So even if somebody glorifies a person, look at our own example, somebody glorifies us as a great singer or a great speaker, we in turn offer this glorification to our guru, because of whose mercy we are undertaking the service. We are not in a position to do anything on our own. So if we are able to sing some kirtan, nice kirtan, or if we are able to speak something on the scriptures, it is purely the mercy of our Guru. So in turn, we offer the same path, the same glorification to our Guru who is empowering us. By that, what happens is that we don't become attached to that glorification. So that is how one can, becoming detached helps us in becoming humble, which is a very important aspect in devotional service. Arjuna also approached Krishna with humility. Parikshit Maharaj also approached Sukadeva Goswami with humility. And humility means I don't know anything. So you approach your spiritual master not by saying, I know this, I know that, but by approaching in a way that you don't know anything. So Sukadeva Goswami also is offering prayers to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Lord becomes very pleased when someone offers prayers. That's why one of the Lord's name is called Uttama Sloka, or one who is glorified by wonderful prayers. And we see even in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many wonderful prayers recited by great personalities like Kunti, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. They all also offered wonderful prayers. And by reciting those prayers or chanting those prayers on a daily basis, we also develop that humility uh, on a gradual basis. It's not overnight factor, but reciting those prayers on a daily basis helps us to develop some humility. Two important points in this today's purport is that one is by glorifying the right personality, like the Lord Himself or His pure devotees, one becomes purified. But it should be done without expecting any glorification from others. That means by glorifying the Lord with these wonderful prayers or glorifying the pure devotees of the Lord, like Queen Kunti's prayers, we become purified. But one thing is that we should not expect any glorification by reciting these prayers. It is possible that when we meet somebody, we might develop some humility, but at the same time, we might expect that the other person should glorify us. Such expectation should not be there. That's why it is said one should not expect any glorification from others. Now, the other side of the coin is that by glorifying the wrong person, we also take his karma. And he also does not get the use of the benefit of the glorification. On the other hand, by glorifying a wrong person, we become cheated and he's a cheater. And both the cheater and as well as cheated, it is said that they go to hell. So before glorifying someone, it is our duty to find out whether he's worthy of glorifying. So Prithu Maharaj was worth glorification by all the demigods. And the real object or real purpose of glorification, object of glorification is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, who has created everything, and that's what brings happiness. So, what is glorification? Glorification means praising someone with some sweet words. It should come naturally, it is not artificial. So, we praise somebody for his qualities, and how we do that is by speaking some nice, sweet words naturally. And why is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because he's Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulence, and Van means one who possesses. So the Lord is full with all the opulences. So he's the only one to be worthy of glorification or any of his representatives like pure devotees. So by glorifying one, one meditates on that personality and in that process becomes purified and transcends the three modes of material nature. We'll see that even when sannyasi visits, these sannyasis never, even our moment are pure devotees of the Lord, devotees representing Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Lord Krishna. So when they visit and we see that by speaking about them, by hearing about from them, we get purified. So glorification is also a means of purification. And if it is rightly done, we become free from the three modes of material nature. It is said that when Krishna used to go to the forest with cows and calves, the gopis used to describe Krishna's pastimes, which is a glorification. And they would discuss with other gopis and so forth. And then in the evening, by the time when the gopas come back with Krishna, they would in turn narrate to the Vrajavasis how Krishna killed this demon today, he killed that demon, and so forth. So these are all means of glorification of the Lord by which one becomes purified. Now, there's also a mention that it is our natural propensity to glorify others who are better in some sphere of life. This is a quality already there within us. But when we don't use it, what happens is that we identify a wrong person, maybe a politician or a cricketer, because we have in us the tendency to glorify others. But because we don't understand it, one of the reasons is we are incomplete in ourselves. And this incompleteness has given for us to look for some completeness. Because we are incomplete, we are looking for somebody who is complete. But because we are not able to look for for a complete personality, we try to glorify another incomplete personality, and they are all called false heroes. For example, someone might glorify an actor for his acting. Someone might glorify a sports person for his sports achievement. But as we see here, all those achievements are last for a period of time. Whether you see an actor has got fame for a period of time. Afterwards, his name and fame, everything comes down. Similarly, a sports person, he might have won some matches and led some extraordinary, got many goals, but they are not eternal. They last for some time, and over a period of time, they lose their name and fame. The reason is that none of them are complete. The only complete personality is the Lord or his pure devotees of the Lord. But in the modern society, we hear more about them. That is why we tend to glorify personalities like them. And material world is temporary, and all these personalities are also temporary. But the media has promoted their personalities to such an extent that we think themselves to be all in all. To the extent that when somebody wins a match, people make a vigraha sorry, not vigraha, idol, and they start worshipping. So they take all those qualities, and these qualities also temporary. There is a nice pastime in Mahabharata where Yudhishthira Maharaj was arranging a Rayasya Yajna. So Bhishma Deva told Yudhishthira, O king, I think that Arghya should be presented to honor all the sages and kings present there. But let the first presentation be given to the foremost personality in the assembly. That means when such sacrifices are performed, uh, the Arghya that is there should be given to the topmost personality. Uh, Yudhishthira Maharaj then asked Bhishma Deva, Oh grandfather, who do you consider to be the greatest personality in the assembly? Bhishma Deva confidently said, There is no doubt that Krishna is not only the foremost person present here, but he is the supreme personality of Godhead as well. He has descended the earth to execute the mission of the demigods, who are all his obedient servants. Krishna is the supreme lord of all creatures. He possesses all opulence to the fullest, and he is the origin of everything. Then Bhishma Deva ordered Sahadeva to present the Arghya to Krishna. So this is another point that Krishna is the only personality of God, supreme personality of Godhead, who has to be glorified, not anybody else. Then in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find Narada Muni telling Vyasadeva, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. And that philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendent senses of the Lord is considered worthless. So Narada Muni, in other words, is inspiring Vyasadeva, by which he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when we see that when Lord appeared as Varaha, Brahma was contemplating when the earth was submerged beneath the ocean. So Brahma was thinking, what shall I do? When all of a sudden a very small insect-like thing came out of uh, the size was just the upper portion of a thumb, and it came out of his nostril, and gradually he grew to the size of a huge elephant. So Brahma was discussing with his sons when the Lord roared very loudly, because boars roar a lot. So the Lord appeared as Varahadev. He roared very loudly, like a great mountain. Again and again he roared, and then the sages and residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, they all understood, and they chanted auspicious mantras from the Vedas. So the Lord understood that the prayers were meant to glorify Him, and the Lord, being pleased with these prayers, wrote again to confirm His happiness. Because the Lord appeared as Varaha incarnation, He did not speak, but He wrote again to confirm that He was happy with the prayers that were offered to Him. After all, everything comes from the Lord, nothing belongs to us. So if the Lord can be pleased by speaking some nice, praising Him with some nice, beautiful words, the Lord becomes very happy. Uh, After all, whatever we have got with us also, we are not going to take it with us. It is said that we cannot take with two hands what the Lord wants to give with His many hands. The Lord has many hands. So if the Lord gives with many hands, we can take it with only whatever is possible with the two hands, not more than that. At the same time, if the Lord wants to take with this, even without His hands, by seeing, by glance, He can take away anything from us. Just like He creates by glancing the material nature, He can also take away everything from us. But a few words of glorification keeps the Lord very happy. So the entire Srimad Bhagavatam consists of prayers like Bhishma Deva, Queen Kunti, Rishabh Deva, etc. So we should recite these prayers, which will be an impetus for us to purify ourselves as well as we please the Lord. So it is said that in the Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their airplanes, accompanied by their wives and consorts, singing the glories of the Lord. And suddenly, when a breeze comes carrying the fragrance of flowers, the fragrance looks very, very nice and sweet. But the inhabitants look at it as a disturbance because they feel it's a disturbance of their service to the Lord. And they consider that glorifying the Lord is more important than smelling that breeze. So that is the mood of the Vaikuntha Lokas. We should try and develop those mood. That in the midst of a service, if we are doing something for service for Krishna, our priority is the mood of service and not for our sense gratification. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave instructions to his devotees. There was a nice prayer which he said, Bala Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Gavo Krishna Nama, Krishna Vinu Keha Kichu Na Bhaviha Ana. The translation says, glorify Krishna, worship Krishna, and chant the name of Krishna. Do not think of anything other than Krishna. I thought this prayer was mantra was very nice. So it is the nature of a great soul. They are not interested in their own welfare, like Prithu Maharaj. So when Prithu Maharaj was glorified, he felt that he was deserving it. That is the quality of a great soul. Rather, they are interested in the welfare of the others. That's why he says that instead of giving these prayers to me, please give it to somebody who is more suitable than me. So they want the glories of the Lord to be known to everybody, not the glories of their own self. That is the quality of a pure soul. But in today's world, we glorify so many personalities, like Rajanish or Kalki incarnation, or so many personalities who think they are all independent of God, or they think they are God. And both are very dangerous because it is said in the Shastras that by following them, even by glorifying them, we become cheated and they are cheaters. And by undertaking such an exercise, both the cheater as well as the cheated go to hell. That means by glorifying a wrong personality, we become cheated. They are cheating us and we become cheated. They go to hell and we also go to hell. That is why it is said that before glorifying some personality, it is good to do some exercise as to is the person worth glorifying. We should not try to glorify just to give him some praise, which is a normal practice. Uh, but we should be very careful in these respects. If a person does not have the qualities, if a person does not deserve that, there is no need to glorify. We can just say Hare Krishna. But glorifying a wrong person with wrong qualities is uh, a big problem for one who is glorifying as well as for the one who is being glorified. So these are the important points that was there in today's purport. And here the conclusion is that there are so many pseudo incarnations of Lord. They are all fools and rascals, and they have no godly qualities. So Prithu Maharaj set a perfect example by concluding that if that only those with having godly quality should be praised, and not any pseudo incarnations or personalities who don't have such qualities. That is the concluding point from today's verse. And the last verse, Prabhupada also says, Prithu Maharaj indicated such person should not be offered to an unfit person who pretends to be an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God. So we should be very careful whom to glorify, whom not to glorify. With this, I conclude the class for the day. Any of you have got any questions, comments, they can ask me. Hare Krishna. Do any of you have any questions?
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanda Pranam Prabhuji.
Dhanda Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, as you were telling, we have to glorify the devotees, like how to glorify when we are don't have ourselves that much knowledge. So how can we do that, Prabhuji? Can you highlight that?
You can just, if you are talking about our community, we can say Hare Krishna. That is a welcoming gesture. You don't have to say you are a great speaker without hearing about him. Have you heard about the class before glorifying a speaker? We should not imitate others. Somebody might say, oh, you are a nice speaker. You should not imitate that. For yourself, you should have had that realization. Similarly, if you're trying to glorify a Kirtaniya, you ascertain for yourself whether he sings well. Perceptions may vary from person to person, but you have to have your own identification. You cannot glorify somebody just for the sake of glorifying. Try to have your own realization. And if you realize, yes, it's a good Kirtan, you can just tell him, I heard your Kirtan, it was very nice. We should not artificially. What happens is that when you glorify a wrong person, he becomes puffed up. His ego goes to a very high level. And that ego also becomes a cause for him to come down sometimes.
Yes, Prabhu, yes.
You don't get any benefit, he also not getting the benefit. He's lost, you're also lost.
Yeah. So as on how what we realize and what our what the best we can say, we should say.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Any other questions? I'll take the class as closed. Thank you all very much. Bhagavatam ki